Okay, so let's say now we're done with our form, we're ready to send it out. Okay, what do we have to do? Well, before we can click send and send it out, we actually have to know where the answers are going. We have to tell Google Forms where the answers are going. So at the top here, we've been working under questions right now because we've been adding our questions. If we click on responses, it will bring up this window. There are 0 responses because nobody took this quiz yet. But what we need to do is, there is a little icon here, and it says Create Spreadsheet. This symbol is the sign for Google Sheets. So when we click on that, we're selecting a destination. So Google Forms works with Google Sheets, and all your answers are compiled are a Google Sheet. So right now it defaults to creating a new spreadsheet, which we want to do. And it takes the name of our actual form. So my form's name is practice. It's going to call the sheet practice. And then in parentheses, they put responses, letting you know that's where you're going to get the answers. Okay. So you can select an existing spreadsheet is a little more involved. So every time you make a new form, it just makes sense to make a new spreadsheet and have those answers on that spreadsheet. Okay, so once you open this, you really don't have to make any changes. You're going to just click Create. And now it's going to bring you into this Google form. Now, there's no answers because I didn't give this to anybody, but see how all our questions are here? Okay, and now you can use this sheet and all the options on a sheet so you can sort information, you can filter information, you can do all the things that you can do in Google Sheets here. The other nice thing is it will create a timestamp. So you know exactly the time that the student submitted this and was working on it. So if it's due at 3 o'clock on a certain day, you can check if it was after 3 o'clock. If they are doing work in math class that they're supposed to be doing for you, you can see, oh, it's 10 o'clock. Usually you're in math then. Why were you working on it on this date in math class? Okay, I will show you one so you can see how it looks. So I'm going to go into my drive and I need to hit, no, I don't, it's there. Okay, so I just created practice, this form. When I said to create a spreadsheet, it automatically created it and put it in my drive. So it puts it right underneath it. So here's the form, here's the responses. I have one above it that I've used, so I'm going to show you how the form looks so you can get an idea when it is filled in. Okay, so here's your information when it's filled in. Here's that timestamp. And this is how this looks. Now, a lot of times this is good, but sometimes this can be a little hard to read. The other thing you can do is actually see the answers on the form. So here's a feedback form. If I go to responses, I can check summary, so by the whole class or by individual. So if I go down, the summary is nice because it gives me these graphs of how things were answered. And then here's some answers. If we click on individual, it won't show you the name, but it'll show you each person's answer individually. Okay, and to go back, you get to questions. So that's how your answers come in. And it even tells you up here, I had 8 people answer this form. Now I'm going to go back to the form that I just created. There's one more thing in here that you can change or a setting. So it says accepting responses and the toggle switch is on. So that means once you send this form out and people have the link, you're accepting responses. You could turn this off especially if it's a quiz, because once you're done with the quiz, you want to turn it off so nobody else can go in there and see it, because maybe students can go to the next class and show with that link what the quiz is. So if you have more than one period and they're taking the same quiz, I would make one quiz. I would make a copy of the quiz. Okay, so you can do that if you go to these 3 dots here. There's some other options. You can make a copy and rename it. And then in the settings, do that shuffling the order. Okay, so that there's a different one for each class. There's a couple of other things here. If you want to get rid of it altogether, your form, you can get rid of that here, moving it to the trash. Adding collaborators is the same as sharing. So in Google Docs and Google Sheets and Slides, it says share. Here it's adding a collaborator. The one thing to know about adding a collaborator in Forms is the only option is for editing. So if you share a document in Google Docs, you can have the option to have them only view it so that they don't change it. Well, with Forms, if you share it, they have all the editing rights. So you wouldn't want to share it unless you want somebody to be able to change it. So if you are sharing it with a colleague and they want to make a quiz out of it, make sure they make their own copy so that they can make changes on that and not the one that was shared. So back to this accepting responses, you can have this on and off. So maybe you have a form with a deadline, and it's a firm deadline. After 3 o'clock on Friday, I'm not accepting any more responses. So then you can just turn it off. Now the form is still there. It's still saved in your drive. It's just not active. Maybe this is a quiz that you want to use from year to year, or a form or feedback form. You turn it off when you don't want anybody to answer, but when you're ready to use it again, you just turn it back on. This way you don't have to delete it and recreate it. You can just sort of suspend it so that nobody can actually use it, even if they have the link. So that's something that's valuable. So then the last thing is, what do I do when I'm ready to send this out? So if you click on send, you have some options. Okay. Do you want to automatically collect the email addresses? Depends what you're using it for. You can send this by email, which if you're sending it to 1 or 2 people might be good. But if you're sending this to the class as a quiz, you're not going to want to do that. Okay. And if you're using Google Classroom, you need to get the link. So the next option is link. So now this is the link that you will give to people to be able to come to this form and fill it out. You can shorten it too. Okay. You can copy it. And this is the link that you would actually put into Google Classroom or on your teacher page or wherever you want people to go to find this link and fill it out. Okay, the next option you probably won't use unless you know how to create websites, but you can actually embed this form. The difference between a link and an embedding is a link will bring you out to a new page, a new tab in the internet. Embedding, it looks like almost when you look at YouTube and the little video is on the page, then it will look like that. But this is if you're creating web pages. So most of the time, you're probably going to use link. You may use email once in a while. And you can actually send it to Facebook and Twitter if you do have class accounts for that, social medias, you can do that. I'm going to cancel it right now. And that's how you would send it out. Okay, so that's pretty much the basic features of forms. I hope this helped you and that you'll try it out.